Good morning and welcome to Moments with Melinda. My name is Melinda Moulton, and today my guest is Cristina Alicea. Did I say that right?
That was perfect. That was
Alicea. And that's
Alicea.
that's the Spanish pronunciation of your name.
That's right.
So for all my Vermont people out there, I want you to know that, and I want you to say Christina's name correctly next time you see her.
I
Alice,
appreciate you advocating for my heritage.
Alicea. It's a great
Alicea.
name, Alicea. Very theatrical. All right. So for my guests who don't know you, which I think probably most of my guests do, Christina is the producing artistic director of the Vermont Stage Company, right?
Yep, that's correct.
So thank you for being on my show. I want to start at the beginning. Can you share with us a little bit about your childhood growing up in Arlington, Virginia?
Yeah. Wow. Um, well, let me think. I mean, Arlington, Virginia is basically the DC area. So, um, Northern Virginia. So really I was like felt like you know, we grew up kind of like um my mom was a single mom with three kids, and she was a teacher. And, we had a lot of friends and we had a great little childhood. Not wealthy by any stretch, but we also lived in a really great place. Arlington is such a rich and diverse environment. And because it's so close to DC, we reap all the benefits of all of those free resources. So I grew up going to a ton of museums and art and things like that. And it didn't cost anything because it was being paid for by the federal government. So, um, yeah, it was a great childhood. And then I went
So
to,
go
yeah.
ahead. Go ahead.
And then I went to college in that region as well, George Mason University, um, and studied theater there. So that's the quick version.
That is a quick version, and I want to get deeper into that a little bit. So who in your life, so you obviously had a very cultured upbringing. I'm assuming your mother made sure of that you got to all the art museums and performances and things. But who or what in your life inspired you to go into the artistic performance business?
Well, I mean, I don't know if I told you this story before, but I actually kind of got into it a little by accident initially. So I grew up always drawing and painting. So visual art was my thing. That was like the thing I loved most as a kid. It was the thing I would retreat into when I felt overwhelmed by so many siblings. And, in our little apartment, I'd go hide out in my room and paint and draw. Um, and I was like a really avid visual artist as a child. And I got into high school and was still just always just visual art, visual art. And it was just kind of happenstance. Like I took an elective, there was various electives that you had to sign up for once you started high school, and they had a limited number of electives in this particular slot that I had, and it was either like wood shop, like, or like, no, or like chorus, which I was like, heck no, that's not for me, or theater. And I didn't have any other visual art classes whatsoever during that slot. And I was like, well, the lesser of these evils is theater. And so, I took a theater class, and that coupled with my older sister Nicole was loved theater. She was like totally into theater, and she wanted to do drama club after school. Did I tell you this story before?
No, 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 you haven't. This is all new and exciting. I'm loving it.
She wanted to take drama club, but my mom was like, "Look, I can't be like chauffeuring you back and forth. I can't pick up Christina and then pick you up like 3 hours later. Like you can do drama club if you convince your sister to do it with you." And so So, um, and so she like started campaigning to get me to do drama club. And I really, really didn't want to do it. I didn't want to perform. I had no interest in theater. I just felt like I just had to take it, um, for the class. And so I really didn't want to do drama club. And so she begged me. and basically ended up bribing me. She was like, I will do dishes for you for 2 months if you do drama club. And and drama club was a part. You also like were getting involved in the school play. Um, and so I was like, well, okay, if you're gonna do the dishes, then sure, I'll do drama club. Fine, fine. And I just kind of thought I could just hang back and like draw and not really participate. But, little by little, theater sucks you in. And I just got
So
involved.
how much older was Nicole than you?
Just 2 years. So when I was a freshman, she was a junior.
Okay.
Yeah.
And did she usually get the leads in the play, or
Oh,
did you?
yeah. She was the leads in all the plays. She was, captain the cheerleader. She was like Miss Popular.
Wow.
And I
Okay.
was not. I was the opposite. I was like super geeky and dark cloud, like not, very much just put me like I was emo before emo was a thing. Like yeah, I was not at all that.
Did she pursue theater?
No, she didn't. She pursued journalism, actually.
So was
Yeah.
she surprised that you did pursue theater?
Oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yes, right?
Does she take credit for that?
Oh yeah, of course, of course. I'm like my whole life's your fault, Nicole. My
Oh,
whole life's your fault.
I love it. Well,
But
bless
yeah,
her
I
heart.
mean that's kind of what happened is I got the bug. I like just got into it, and of course all the friends you make doing theater, there's like such a rich culture attached to doing, participating in the theater.
So now,
Um,
do you still paint? Are you still an artist?
I do. I do a little. I still sketch. I still love visual art, but it's just for me. It's like something I do for myself. I don't get it out there for anybody. It's just still kind of like a little meditative.
Well, good for you. Maybe
Yeah.
someday I'll get to see your work. So now, Christina, you talk about having a talent as an artist and a director, but you also have strong administration experience. Talk to us about your work prior to coming to Vermont and how that work made you such a perfect fit for Vermont stage.
Yeah. Well, I again, all that stuff kind of happened like a natural evolution of my career. Um, I went to college for acting, decided to move to New York to be an actor, and then kind of ended up getting more involved in directing theater. And like so many struggling theater artists in Manhattan, if you're not getting cast in shows, you're not getting work, you decide you're going to produce your own stuff if you really want to do it, right? And so that's what I did. I had a couple of friends, we started our own theater company and we started producing our own shows in, the avant-garde theaters of downtown Manhattan. And I learned a lot through that process. I became a better director and also started really learning about marketing, about, raising money and, all the producing, all the details of like what it takes to put on a
What
show.
year was that? What year was that?
So probably I moved to New York in summer 2001. My timing was excellent. I graduated college and I moved June 2001. Guess what happened September 2001, right?
Wow.
So that was insane too. There was another reason why there wasn't any work in New York is because the entire world imploded there.
Right. What was the name of your company?
Our company was called MT Works, Manhattan Theater Works.
Wow.
Um, but yeah, so we just like did produced our own shows and we moved into that. I moved in 2001 and I think we started the company in like 2004 or 5 and um yeah, I was like producing theater for I think it was like 5 years or something we did.
Interesting.
And we
So
tried to do a few a year. And so that's when I really was like, I think I like this part of it too. The
that's
ad.
how fabulous. Because
Yeah.
you were kind of an entrepreneur. So share with us how you learned about the opening at Vermont Stage and what inspired you to apply.
Yeah. So after my time running this theater in New York, I kind of got tired of living in New York and moved back to the DC area and ended up working at a theater called Woolly Mammoth Theater. And I was and I had gotten to the place where I was like, I want to really learn how to to run a theater company. Like that was the reason why I wanted to do it. So I was like, okay, I said goodbye to New York and I'm going to just try to really learn everything that I can about the business of the theater. But and I didn't want to go to grad school because it just was like all the money it would take and the time, and I wanted to learn on the job. And so I ended up working at William Emmett Theater, assisting the managing director there. And he was like, "What do you want from this experience?" He was really, I mean, a wonderful mentor and friend to me while I was there. And I said, "I want to learn everything that you know how to do." And so that's what he did. He kind of threw me in and really mentored me and taught me everything about running a nonprofit organization. Um, and then about 6 months into being there, we did our 6 month review. And he didn't really have any notes for me. He's like, I don't really have any feedback for you. He's like, so like, what do you really want to do with your life? And he turned our little 6 month review into kind of another mentorship moment where, you know, the, and we started talking about it. And I just said, I want to do what you're doing. I want to do what Howard, the artistic director, is doing. I want to run a theater. Um, and he's like, so just go do that. And I was like, okay, how do I do that? And he's like, just start applying for jobs, just start applying for the jobs. And, like there's got to be a theater out there that you can apply for. And if you get the job, you should take it and don't worry so much about the size of the theater or where it is, and just see what's out there, see what you can get.
So
And so
where'd you find the job advertised?
it was in Art Search,
Oh,
which is like
fantastic.
your usual site. So it wasn't through a friend. I didn't know anybody in Vermont, like nothing. I had
Was
no.
it was it a vigorous interview process?
It was. Yeah, we did some virtual meetings, and then they flew me in for a final interview, which was like a day and a half long
Wow.
um
And so
thing.
what made you decide to take the job?
Well, I mean, it was that big opportunity, right? To
Right,
run a
exactly.
theater.
But come to Vermont. I mean, that's
Right.
you
I mean,
come
I've always been kind of adventurous that way. I like up and moved to New York. I just,
right, right, right.
those other places. And I was like, why the heck not? I
And
mean, but my only experience of coming to Vermont ever preceding that was, and the reason why I applied for the job, like taking the job was a no-brainer. It was like, yes, of course. But applying for the job, I was like, huh. And I had gone to New York, or not gone to New York, I lived in New York at the time, and my roommate had a friend, I think, who had gone to UVM. I was like 24 or something like this at this time. And she said, let's go up to Burlington for the weekend. Let's hang out with my old college friends and we'll like, hang out. And we came up to Burlington. We had the most fun, one of the most fun weekends ever. We spent the whole weekend laughing and joking and having a blast. And I have a vague memory of going to Nectar's one night, like Saturday night, late night, and dancing and then coming back. And we just had like a fun time. So then, like 6 or 7 years later, when I saw this job listing, I was like, Burlington. I think I remember Burlington. I had fun that weekend in Burlington. And that was it.
and that was it. So
Then I
talk
was like, I'll just, I'll throw my hat in the ring for this one.
that's
Sure.
well, we're so grateful that you did. Talk to us a little bit about the history of Vermont Stage under the direction of the great Mark Nash.
Well, Mark Nash, before Mark was Blake Robeson, and he founded Vermont Stage and ran it for like around 6 years. And that was when we were more of an itinerant company. We didn't have a home base. And then Mark Nash came in right around the time that Andrea Rogers was opening up Flynn Space. So she had the Flynn, through her efforts and whomever helped raise the money, purchased the building next door to the Flynn, and in the basement of their administrative offices is Flynn Space, which is Black Box Theater. And as the story goes, she called Mark up and said, "Would you like to rent?" Our space and have like a continual home base for Vermont Stage here and do like a full season of plays. And he said, and thankfully, very smartly said yes.
Great.
And so really during Mark's tenure, he ran Vermont Stage for 11 seasons, and he's really the person that I think like um gave it a shape and a form and built like the initial audiences for the organization. Because the consistency of us that space and being able to go, okay, we're doing, a 5 play season or whatever the season was, um, I think did a lot for building audiences.
Well, bless his heart for that. So, Christine, what are some of the highlights of your tenure at Vermont Stage? I believe you've been there for 15 years.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So give me just a couple of the highlights of your tenure there over the last 15 years, just a couple.
Gosh, I feel like you should tell me what my highlights are. But yeah, I mean, I've been growing the organization. We fleshed out our education programs, so we went from one and now we have three, education programs. We're reaching probably about, 3,500 kids, all across Vermont through our education programs now. We also moved to Main Street Landing and we do all our performances there, which, as you know, is such a beautiful space, and has really allowed us to continue to grow. And also, I think the key point of the move was the artistic opportunities. We're able to produce shows that we just couldn't do in the previous space just because of structural things with the building. This now we have a higher ceiling, just this show that we're running now, Murder on the Orient Express. There's just no way that we could have done that in a different theater.
Well, yeah, I wanted to give a shout out to Main Street Landing for putting their arms around Vermont Stage, but I also want to thank you guys because when we first rented it to Mark Wall, he wanted to build the stadium seating, and it was named the Black Box, and people really were criticizing us that it wasn't a pure black box. And when you guys came in, you said we wanted to be, so we took down the stadium seating and we redesigned it in a way that it worked for you and made it a much better theater. So shout out to Vermont Stage for that collaboration with Main Street Landing to create that remarkable black box that so many love. So, how did you transform Vermont Stage from its early days to what it is today? It's one of Vermont and perhaps New England's most revered professional and beloved acting companies. And what is the most challenging part of your job?
Oh gosh. Um, Big question. So, I mean, the most challenging job I think in general is raising raising money, supporting the organization, making sure that we have the funds to continue and to grow, and to pay our artists and pay ourselves, what we need to compensate. Because I think there's a distinction between what we do and maybe some other theaters in the area is that we're a professional theater, and the only really difference between a professional theater and like a community theater is that we're compensating everybody that we work with. So we're paying every person that hangs a light, every person that, is in the show, backstage, everyone involved in our plays, we're making sure that they're receiving some form of compensation, financial compensation. Um, and so what it means is that we have to raise a lot more money to produce a play than, what a non-professional company would do. They're putting all their money into the set design and stuff like that, but they're saving a lot of money on not paying people, basically. So, each show we produce is extremely expensive to produce, so like Murder on the Orient Express probably cost us, $85,000
Wow.
plus maybe, between 85 to $100,000 to produce. $100,000, and that's just one show in our season, right? And we're never making back that kind of money at the box office. We'd have to charge double what we charge, maybe triple what we charge to really get there. So we truly are a nonprofit organization, and we supplement all of those costs through, wonderful donors from people. So that's the heaviest lift is ensuring that we have the financial support from our community to continue doing the things that we do.
So to my viewers, I want you to go to vermontstage.org, vermontstage.org, and there's a donation opportunity, and I encourage you to make a donation to Vermont Stage so that you can support the incredible work that they do. And you find this tremendous talent behind curtain professionals, directional talent, magnificent set designs, the actors in what many consider a five-star performance theater. Talk to us about the 2026 season, Christina.
Yeah, I mean, well, currently we have Running Murder on the Orient Express through the end of February. I think February 22nd is when it closes, and that show is, so fun, and stage adaptation by the genius Ken Ludwig. He's an extremely funny playwright, and he adapted Agatha Christie's, masterful, murder mystery for the stage. And so it's just a wonderful adaptation, and the show is up and running and it's beautiful and the cast is really fabulous and
And
funny.
7 Days just did an incredible review on the show. Tickets are available at vermontstage.org. I encourage everyone to get over there and see that Agatha Christie Murder on the Orient Express. It's extraordinary. Okay, so talk to us about the rest of the season. What's coming up?
Yeah. And then we're doing a play called The Half-Life of Marie Curie by a woman named Lauren Gunderson. Yeah, and it's about, Marie Curie. It's actually about like this one period of her life where she was embroiled in a scandal because she ended up having an affair with a married man, and that became headline news, and really like the media was tearing her apart in a way, of course, that they weren't tearing apart the male counterpoint, part.
Of
And
course.
so she ends up kind of seeking a haven with a fellow scientist, and they end up really, it's just a heartfelt story about these women of this period of time, persevering through all of these trials that are put upon them that are very different because of their women. And so I love it. It's, a two-hander, and we have the fabulous Chris Caswell and Alex Hudson in it, which are local actors who are like, you know, absolutely
Out
stunning.
of this world. Yeah.
And so I'm really excited about that one. That's in March. And then we're doing a show called Rhinoceros, which is by Eugene Ionesco. And it is considered a classic. It's from the theater of the absurd movement that happened in the 1950s. And it is, very politically relevant right now. It's a comedy. It's because it's theater absurd. It's really, very out of the box in its approach. And it's basically about an entire community of people who start coming down with a virus that's turning them all into rhinoceroses. And little by little, they're all becoming rhinoceroses. And this one man is seeing all of this happening around him, and doesn't know what to do because everyone in his community is becoming someone he doesn't recognize anymore.
Wow. So to my viewers, go to vermontstage.org. There is a Murder on the Orient Express happening right now, then Marie Curie, and then Rhinoceros. Get your tickets to these shows, which oftentimes sell out. I want to talk to you about that because your ticket pricing is very fair and affordable, and you have created an opportunity for everyone to enjoy your productions, which most often, as I said, are sold out. Talk to us about your mission and vision to make theater affordable for all.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't think that we should be, you know, pricing things in such a way that it isn't accessible more broadly. So we've instituted a pick your price model, and essentially, anybody, our theater is a general admission theater. So, there isn't specific assigned seats. Where you buy a ticket, you could sit wherever you want. But the way that it works is that, you go to purchase a ticket and you get three different price options, and you can decide what price you want to pay, whether it's sort of your entry level price or our mid range price, which is what we consider our standard ticket price. And then we have what we call an encore ticket price, which is folks that have additional resources. They could see it as a way to kind of help underwrite the show while providing access to people that are purchasing at a lower level ticket. And so it does kind of the folks that have more money and are able to give through their ticket purchase are helping to offset the costs of providing a lower ticket price for the entry level ticket buyers.
Yeah.
And I found so far that it's worked really well. And It's a model based on altruism, and Vermonters I find to be, pretty altruistic and generous and community minded. And so it's working well for us. And so far, I'm very pleased with it. And I think it kind of is a great way to thread that needle of like
Wait,
being able to pay for these shows, but also provide them at a price point that people can afford.
because people can't afford to go to, I mean, you cannot, it's so impossible to afford even a Broadway ticket or off Broadway or, I mean, Flynn is even to go to events at the Flynn, it's expensive. And, Vermont Stage produces these professional five-star productions and it's affordable. Again, go to vermontstage.org, check it out, and get to the theater, folks. So I have noticed that oftentimes in the audience for the symphony, the opera, the theater, book readings, there are lots of white-haired folks like me. How are you
Hey,
drawing?
I'm getting white hair. Okay, so
Yeah,
this
yeah, but not yeah, but you're not. You're still a youngster. How are you drawing in our younger generation to appreciate and support the performing arts community, Christina?
Uh, I mean, well, firstly, through our education programs, one part of the mission with the education programs that we run is introducing youth to the art of theater, so especially out in rural parts of Vermont, there isn't as much access to the performing arts as there is in Chittenden County. So you get further afield into Vermont and you have schools that have less resources, have had to make hard decisions about, what they can afford at their local school. And and so a lot of times those kids that go there, they don't have the same access to, all forms of art, and performing arts, theater especially is often one of the first things that goes by the wayside. And so, that's one piece of what we're doing
So
is
talk about the education, what you offer for young people at Vermont Stage. What's the education piece of your organization?
yeah, so we run three education programs. One is called Vermont Young Playwrights, and we've been doing that program since our inception, so 31 years. And we send teaching artists into local middle and high schools to teach kids how to write, middle and high school students how to write a play. And so they go through a bunch of not just sitting there and, sort of just sitting there writing, but there's actually like acting exercises and discussions about conflict and like what makes a scene and really teaching them like the structure and form and the thinking behind the conception of theater, and storytelling. And then it results in them writing 10-minute plays. And then it culminates in a festival that we do in May at Main Street Landing, where we bring all those participating schools together over the course of 2 days to watch professional actors perform the plays that the kids wrote. And so they get to see their words come alive by professional actors. And it's really just like a profound experience for them because they're like their first interaction with, wow, I made this piece of art and people are responding to it in real time in front of me. So it's incredibly impactful. And then we have two other programs. One is called Public Square Plays, and the other is oh gosh, what are we calling it right now? Our oh gosh, I'll come back to it, but it's basically our Public Square Plays. Oh, our Suitcase Stage. That's our program. Um, and so Suitcase Stage is a touring shows that we take to elementary schools, and Public Square Plays is touring shows that we're taking to middle and high schools.
Love
And
it.
the Public Square Plays program is we're touring socially conscious, social justice theater, essentially based in history, and based in, like what is happening politically and socially within our community and the wider world. And those plays are so they can experience the theater, but really it's about we have post-show conversations with the students. We work with the teachers to make sure that they have materials to support it so they can go back to their classrooms and talk about what they saw and have real conversations about like the historically relevant and civic minded issues that are being brought forward through
Fabulous.
through it. And then we're doing that at elementary school, but of course without any of that part. And it's more just, here's this cool art form. Check it out. We're introducing.
My granddaughters have done the program at Vermont Stage. So it's fantastic. So I'm getting to my viewers, vermontstage.org. If your children want to get into theater, please go to that website and sign them up for these educational programs. So we're coming to the end of the show. I wanted to get your words of wisdom, Christina, for so many of us who are being challenged right now with current affairs. How do we find hope in our future?
I don't know if I'm the the best person to answer that question,
Well, you are. You're a
but
creative soul.
I mean,
How do you do it? How do you deal?
what I can say is that what I'm trying to do as an artistic professional and through Vermont Stage to sort of work towards answering that question is to put forward plays that are focused on the things that we have in common, right? And it focused on, sure, we're having like deep, meaningful, impactful conversations through some of the themes that are occurring in there, but we're all doing something that I find we don't do as often as we should anymore, which is we're gathering together in a space as community members and we're having a communal experience. We're all observing this piece of theater together live. And, in the theater, there's been scientific studies that your heart sync to the same rhythm as you're watching a piece of theater because we are really all invested in the same moment together, right? And there's something so profound about that. And it's a great way to just also spend time with loved ones, with friends, say hello to neighbors that you didn't think you'd see at the theater, and so, and all of those things spread so much positivity within the community. And then we're going home and we're a bit happier and we're spreading more joy and love, right? And so I know these things sound kind of hokey and nebulous and like, is it actually making a meaningful impact? But it does. It does.
Oh,
Because for every person that walks through the door and leaves with more joy in their heart, they're spreading that to the people around them, if we do that consistently, I think it makes it has a cumulative effect. Absolutely.
I agree with you. I wrote down here that live theater allows us to leave our current state of mind and enter the lives and the world of those on the stage. It is truly a healing and cathartic form of mental healing. And so I wrote that down in my. So listen, we've come to the end of our. I want to thank you, Cristina Alicea.
Oh, you got it perfect.
Yes, I did, which is the
Melinda.
proper way to say your name. I want to thank you for giving me this moment of your time. I want to get to the gallery here. I want to thank you for your time today, but I also want to thank you for all that you bring to the creative seekers in our state with your direction and leadership of Vermont Stage. I consider you a Vermont treasure. So thank you for that. And I send you my love and I thank you for your friendship. And to all my viewers, get on that website, vermontstage.org, donate money, volunteer, get involved, and go to the productions, okay? Because it will lift your heart and it will open your heart. So with that, I want to say goodbye to my viewers, and I will see you again for another moment with Melinda. Bye bye. Bye bye.